So, welcome to the second instance of the Services Roadshow by Base4NFDI, where currently funded basic services pitch themselves, followed by a non-public Q&A session moderated by our team. We now start with Jupyter4NFDI, so the stage is yours.
Now, thanks so much for that great and awesome introduction. My name is Armin Bleier. I'm from GESIS, but today I'm representing Jupyter4NFDI, which is an effort of many, many people. And these slides have been created together with Björn, our primary PI, but I'm presenting today on behalf of a whole team. So let's just make that sure. One other thing, what are the things I would like you to get out of it? I would like you to get 3 things at least out of it. I would like you to know what is Jupyter and what are these strange things notebooks? What is the things that we are doing as Jupyter4NFDI? And last but not least, what can you as a potential user get from it? So what's in it for you? And without further ado, what is Jupyter? What are these Jupyter notebooks? So today's session is more tailored towards researchers. And that's really what Jupyter notebooks are. Jupyter notebooks are a way to do computational aspects of your research really in one place and combine not just like the source code with some more libraries, but with one important thing, namely natural language description. So Jupyter notebooks are essentially, or notebooks in general, are a format where code, natural language text, plus the results of these computations come together. And as such, they are a primary way of communicating and preserving your computational research. And I think today, these days, a lot of these things are computational. I'm from the social sciences, but a lot of these things require computation during the analysis phase. So what are the important components? We've talked about source code goes into Jupyter notebooks, natural language descriptions, plus visualization. But there's some very important also other thing, namely, where does the source code actually being executed? Where does this happen? And typically, if you are a researcher, you work quite a lot on your own machine. But Jupyter notebooks are a perfect way, in particular, when they are combined with Jupyter Hub. That's a thing where you can manage many Jupyter notebooks. They are a perfect thing to do computation on a server while it feels as if you would be working locally. So it's all about lowering these entry hurdles. So what you're seeing here is on the right side, if it's not hidden behind some other stuff, I'm not sure. But on the right side, you see the Jupyter Lab GUI. GUI means graphical user interface. That's the place where researchers can work with their data, can describe them, can do their analysis. So it's really an integrated research environment. It can execute stuff on a server, but it works via your browser and gives you the feeling as if it would be locally. That's a nice part about it. Now that we have covered what is Jupyter and Jupyter notebooks, what are we? We are really aiming to be a cloud-based computational analysis service. We want the researchers to be able to really focus on their specific domain, on their analysis, where they are best at, and don't have to spend time on setting all these things up. And that's quite a lot of work. I know from many research groups, for example, at GESIS, that spend a lot of time on only maintaining these analysis environments. We want that this thing is really stable, done by professionals, but does not require so much work by the individual institutions. And that's really where a lot of quality uptick can be achieved, but also a lot of money can be saved, since we only need to do it once, but then we do it really good. To make these things a little bit more visual, you have a map here in front of you on the right, where you see all the Jupyter hubs that came to mind to us. I'm sure that there are many, many more Jupyter hubs. And that makes even the problem more pressing. So they are highly spread. And behind each dot, there is someone who has to take care about it, who has to maintain it. and who has probably also other things. So if you could specialize people, that would save a lot and it would make the service better. We want that to happen. And that's why we have Jupyter4NFDI. Jupyter4NFDI is basically a way where we can preserve the decentralized infrastructure, but have a shared backend, so to speak. Have a shared infrastructure while it keeps being decentralized. And that makes it possible that we are compliant with the individual funding regulations, that compute cannot be shared easily, but we still get the uptick on the benefit on really making the maintenance and the availability so much better. And it's not just about like maintenance and availability per se. It's about how long does it take an average researcher until he has or she has access to these computational resources. You have an idea for a computational analysis. How long do you have to search until you actually can do it? And we want to lower that. To do that, we have easy access to resources. We are collaborating here with the RE team and are in the early stage with them so that we are integrating with the NFDI-wide RE infrastructure. But we have also added some really nice perks to Jupyter Hub. And in particular, we have added the ability to integrate external content. So it's not that you have to start afresh, but if you have already content, you can just bring it into the Jupyter Hub. And I'll show you that later. With one simple click, this is possible. So it's about like really integrating content. Just imagine you would be a base service, let's say, concerned with providing a Sparkle interface. And you have a nice UI where you do Sparkle queries, but you also want to show and demonstrate how that Sparkle interface works together, let's say, with a nice Python client. And you want to have some interactive analysis. That's the right place for a Jupyter notebook. What you can do and what we provide is for user ability that you have one link in your website, users can click it, and then the content that you provide as a different service will be available interactively and executable as a Jupyter notebook on Jupyter4NFDI. That's the benefit we are delivering. But it's not just Binder that we are collaborating with. We are also integrating or building on Docker images. So if you have a Docker image, no problem. The same holds true for that. Many of our partners are HPC centers, which is also nice. So while we are not in the initial phase where we are currently aiming on the high compute, there is at least a way, a ramp, a road towards being able to deliver that high compute. I've just told you that external, let's say, content providers or other, for example, base services, such as Knowledge Graph, for example, could easily use our service to make their service, for example, demonstrate how you could use a Sparkle endpoint. And here on that slide, I have tried to show that a little bit. What we are providing are so-called launch or import links, or not really what we are providing, but what we are enabling the users is to create these launch and import links. And they're quite easy to create using a form similar to that. And they can embed that on their website. And then all they have to do is click launch an NFDI. Then they're heading over to our service, and the API translates that call into an interactive analysis environment with the right code, with the right data, and most importantly, with the right dependencies, so that you are not in the situation where you have the code and the data, but your code still throws an exception since the necessary libraries are not there. 1 second. Sorry. You will find us as hub.jupyter-nfdi. There's also documentation. Here on the right again, you have a short peek where you can do also that configuration of these imports using a graphical user interface. How is it done from a technical perspective? I've just said that while we are trying to centralize some of the aspects, we are still wanting to have that federated approach where different universities or infrastructure providers can provide infrastructure to do that. And the key there is that we have something like a spawner that can be integrated in a university or institute's local compute infrastructure. That's a small piece of software. It's extremely easy to maintain. And that spawner is then connected with our central instance. And if a user that has the necessary rights comes to the central instance, that central instance then takes a connection or makes a connection to the right resource provider and provides from that resource provider the necessary compute instances, the necessary compute requirements. We have already set that up, and it sounds difficult, but actually it's really simple to do. And we have already some partners who test that in our initialization phase, and it works really great. And again, I can just highlight, visit us, or even try it if the slides are shared later on. So where are we currently standing? We are almost at the end of our initialization phase. So we are currently hoping that we can move forward to the next phase. And I think integration is absolutely the right phase for us, since now it's about bringing that external content into the picture. Now it's really time to integrate with other base services, but also like enable researchers and have there the integration route. For that, we want to have also things like make it easy for people to onboard content. And we have something like office hours where you can pop by, and we will help you to make that possible for researchers who want to make their content available, but also for institutions that think, maybe I'd like to participate in that. I have a Jupyter Hub, for example, but it takes a lot of time to maintain it. The uptime is not great, and we want to save on the time we invest in all the uptime and maintenance, but we want to provide our users with a great experience that actually allows them to do these computational analysis things. Come to that open office hours, and I will have a link at the end. The next thing is we want to have something like verifiable reproducibility, where we basically allow people to signal that they have computational content, analysis pipelines, these notebooks I've just shown you before, that are not just static in a sense of a static PDF, but that are actually running and executing without throwing an error. It's basically a seal of quality that we want to develop there in the integration phase. And last but not least, that requires obviously some training. And I think Base is a great place to develop these trainings, to get feedback for how we do that training in the best possible manner, but also disseminate it in the right way. So the quiz at the end, what benefits can you have? Like, can you run Docker images? Maybe you have an idea on that. Can you import binary analysis pipelines? Or can you get centralized access to multiple resources via a simple browser-based interface? I have not looked up the answers, but maybe you have an idea, and make sure that you fill out the form. But there is one more thing. I've just promised you before that I will share actually a link where you can meet us in the office hours. You have a QR code here, but also I will share the event link later on in the chat as well, or maybe we can share them some other way. With that, I would say thank you for the time and hand it over to the questions and Q&A part.